Creating a role mapping for your cloud streaming portal can be done in 3 easy steps. First, run a SAML login test and make a copy of the relevant test results. Then go to the role mapping area and plug in the relevant attribute name and value information. Finally, choose the role you wish to assign and save the configuration. If you'd like more detail, please keep watching. Hi, I'm Chris Phillips with Swank Motion Pictures Support. Today, I'll be showing you how to create role mappings for your cloud-hosted streaming portal. This video assumes that your SAML single sign-on configuration is almost complete and working properly. If your SSO configuration is not yet complete, please close this video and refer to our HelpCenter documentation on how to complete those steps. If you need help, you can contact Swank Support by emailing support@swankmp.zendesk.com. First, you want to begin by proceeding to your portal and signing in using your registered administrator credentials. If you don't have registered admin credentials for your portal, please contact your sales team or Swank Support. Once you're signed in, you'll want to proceed to the section called SAML Settings. Next, click the Test SAML Login button. When prompted to sign in, you can use your own credentials, or you can coordinate with a different person in order to examine their SAML attribute data. If your SAML SSO configuration is working, you should see a green success message in the upper left corner of the results window. If you do not see this green success message, then your SSO configuration is not working properly. Please close this video and refer to our HelpCenter documentation on how to complete the required steps. There are a few important items that you'll want to pay attention to in this test results window. Be sure that you see the green success message in the upper left corner. In the top line of the second block of the results window, make a note of your assigned role. If you are configuring a portal for a K-12 school, the default role will be Basic. If you are configuring a portal for a college or university, the default role will be User. These default roles are intended for student use. By creating role mappings, you'll be able to elevate individuals or groups to either the instructor or admin role. Please note that there is no need to create role mappings for either the Basic or User roles. As these roles are the default, anyone who is allowed to authenticate will be assigned that default role. For this reason, you should not need to create any role mappings for your students. In the top block of the results window, be sure that you see attributes for your first name, your last name, and email address. These attributes should use the standard URN OID names that you see here. If you are not transmitting these attributes with the standardized names, you should revise your SAML application at your identity provider before proceeding. Alternatively, you can create attribute renaming rules so that the attribute names are modified after they are received by the cloud-hosted portal. Documentation on how to create those rules can be found in our Help Center. We also recommend transmitting an attribute that can be used to identify a person's title, their role within your organization, or their group membership information. In this example, we see the visitor's organizational unit path information, or OU. This OU information gives us an idea of whether the visitor is a staff member, a student, or an administrator. We can use this SAML attribute information, along with the associated values, to create role mappings. I suggest copying this information to your computer's clipboard and pasting it into a text document, like this. We can refer to this information later as we create our role mappings. Next, click on the SAML Role Mapping button. Then click Add Role Mapping to begin. Here we can see empty fields for a SAML attribute name, the value of that attribute, and the role you wish to assign to people matching these conditions. There are lots of ways of configuring these role mappings, but generally speaking, you'll probably want to begin by elevating your staff and teachers to the instructor role. To do this, let's start by choosing an attribute and value that can be used to identify someone as a member of either a staff or teacher group. In this example, we're going to use the OU attribute, but you can use group name information, job title, department, or even email address, so long as your staff and instructors are using an email domain that is different from the one used by your students. First, we plug in the name of the relevant attribute. In this case, that's OU. The name of the attribute will appear in your text document between the quotation marks. Next, we plug in the value for the relevant OU. For most people, this will probably be the name of a specific group, like staff or teachers. The value can be specific, or it can be a partial match. If you choose to use a partial match, there is no need to include wildcard characters such as asterisks. Finally, we want to elevate visitors matching these conditions to the instructor role. Click the Save button, and then click Save once again in the lower right corner to finalize our settings. This is an example of a broad role mapping designed to elevate a large group of people to the instructor role. I also want to walk you through an example of a narrow role mapping that can be used to elevate a specific individual to the admin role. In most cases, you'll want to minimize the number of admin users of your portal. Be sure that only designated technical or library staff are assigned this role. Admins have authority to make significant changes to the portal's configuration, so you don't want to assign this role to anyone by accident. In this example, we're going to use a specific email address to identify the user in question. First, let's plug in the name of our email address attribute. We'll refer back to our text document to find that attribute name. We'll copy the name of the attribute that appears between the quotation marks. And then we'll paste it into the SAML attribute name field. Next, let's plug in the specific email address of the person we want to elevate to the admin role. Remember, the value that you're seeing here is merely an example. You should use the email address of your designated administrator. Next, let's assign this person the admin role. Click Save, then click Save again in the lower right corner to finalize our settings. We now have two examples of role mappings. One that's broad and one that's narrow. You can use these examples as guides when creating other role mappings in the future. You are free to create as many role mappings as you need, but as a general rule, we recommend keeping these role mappings to a minimum in order to keep them clear and easy to manage. If a person should match more than one role mapping, they will be granted the highest level of permission available to them. So in our examples, if this person should match both the instructor and admin role mappings, then they will be granted access to the portal at the admin level. To test our role mapping, let's return to the SAML login test that we discussed earlier. Click the Test SAML Login button. When prompted to sign in, you can again use your own credentials, or you can coordinate with a different person in order to check their assigned role. Take a look at the top line of the second block of the test results window. Hopefully, you should find that this person is now elevated to either the instructor or the admin role.